Hey everyone, hopefully you can hear me okay. We're going to do our last stream of the summer for right before Gen Con here on Rock Manor Games. Thanks for joining us. If you're here, nothing sort of super Rock Manor focused this week. We're going to be talking about Gen Con more and what games I'm looking to purchase, play, and demo while I'm there. So whether you're going to Gen Con or not, hopefully that kind of thing interests you. And I have a little today's topics thing here that I'm going to spend this extra time making sure I can get it working. Just so I can keep track of everything I'm talking about. And I'll do my best to share games and things. If you have any feedback during the stream, obviously, hit it up in the comment section and the chat. But that's basically what we're up to today. So I'm going to get through some of this stuff quick because Gen Con being right around the corner, there's obviously a lot to do, and there's a lot of stuff coming up. So first, just sort of to give you a recap, this is going to be the only sort of, the first two subjects here, topics are the only things we're going to cover and sort of talk about Rock Manor Games and what we've been up to. So weekly recap for what we've been working on. Obviously, we've been prepping for Gen Con. If you're unfamiliar with Gen Con, it's the biggest convention in the United States. At its peak, it was getting like 80,000 people. So we'll be there. We'll be in booth 1819 on Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. So if you'd like to demo with me or Todd, Maximum Apocalypse, Seas of Havoc, Set a Watch, we'll all be there in stock out of that booth and sold out of that booth. And if you want to demo with one of the designers, stop by on one of those days if you're in attendance. This past week, Todd and I got together and worked on Star Driven Gateway. If you're interested in learning more about that game, you can go back a few of our live streams, and I highlighted the prototype at one point. And we were just sort of working on development stuff, working on additional episodes, and getting ourselves synced up for what we're going to show off on Friday to the media at Gen Con. So on Friday, we won't be in the booth, and we'll be doing a media day where we're meeting with everyone, talking about some of the stuff we have coming up. If you're a Dice Tower fan, the last thing for the week recap is we're on the Summer Spectacular. Seas of Havoc, there's a live playthrough of that with the Dice Tower guys. You want to see that game in action. And then we did their mega announcement thread and announced second edition of Brass Empire, Maximum Apocalypse, and Gothic Horrors. So if you're interested in learning more about that, that's also on our YouTube channel. But I think that pretty much covers what we've been working on this week. The big thing on probably everyone's mind in the industry this week is that Gen Con starts next week. We'll be flying out Tuesday. We'll be flying out Wednesday, and then it starts Thursday. And it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I already sort of mentioned what we'll be doing there and what Rock Manor Games will be working on as far as our Gen Con schedule goes. We're not doing any events this year, something we usually do. I just feel like Todd and I both felt like we just jammed ourselves. We were too busy the last few years, and we didn't have time to set up any meetings after hours or network or anything. So in order to make the most use of our time, we are not doing any events, but we are doing this media day for the first time. It's something we did at PAX Unplugged, and basically we just run a bunch of meetings, show off some games we're working on, to media behind closed doors so they can sit right down and take a look at it. And we thought that was at least well received by everyone in attendance. All the people who were in attendance really liked it. Whether or not it was worth it for us as far as coverage or etc., I'm not sure yet. But It's something we're going to do at Gen Con this year, and it's something we're going to do again at PAX Unplugged. We're going to try to do it twice a year. It helps us highlight Kickstarters and things that we've got coming. So with that, I'm going to take off my Rock Manor Games hat a little bit and just come to this as a fan of board games and an attendee of Gen Con. And what am I going to do with all this spare time, not running demos and events? I'm going to try to find some games to buy, games to demo, and games to learn, new games to learn. So with that, I'm going to talk about... I'm going to turn this on. Hold on. I think I set everything up ahead of time. Okay. I'm going to set up my countdown of most anticipated games at Gen Con and so first up, what I'm looking to buy. So in some cases, these are games I've already played. So Heat is a game I played over at a friend's house pretty recently, less than a month ago. And I don't know why it's still not in stock, and I can't find it anywhere, online or elsewhere. This is an instant buy from me. This is one of those games that people talked about, and I didn't really understand the hype or know if it was for me, but it looked interesting, and this game totally lives up to the hype and reviews in my eyes. It's super fun. The rulebook's not particularly well written. We were with a bunch of gamers and had some questions, like we had to reread the rulebook and sort of go over it a couple times and sort of intuited a lot of the rules questions we had. Sort of surprised the rulebook wasn't clear, but otherwise, that's my really only critique of this game. If I find it at Gen Con, I am going to buy it. I've been looking for this game for months. I'm just not willing to pay scalping prices, out-of-print prices for it when it's from Days of Wonder and Asmodee, and it should be readily available at some point. I mean, it's got to be being reprinted at this point. The only other game I'm looking to buy, I would like to play this one or demo it or sort of look over someone's shoulder while I do it, is Dwarf Romantic. And this game it recently won the Spiel des Jahres, best board game in sort of German. And the reason I'm interested in this game is because it won the award and because I played the video game. And the video game is sort of very zen. You're building sort of a city. And I'm always on the lookout for something that scratches that SimCity 2000 itch back when I played that. So I'll always give a building construction game, sim game a try. And I played this video game and I liked it. And now that it's won the board game award, I'm sort of interested in seeing how they adapted the video game and how it plays as a board game. So that's another game. If I saw it, knowing how popular it probably is right now, it's a little bit older. It's not new to Gen Con, I don't think, but I'd purchase it just to take it home and give it a try. Pretty sold on it, just from the award-winning stuff and playing the video game and it being sort of a theme I want. So next, we're going to cover some of the games that are sort of debuting at Gen Con that I've already backed. So these are the less stressful games that I know are going to get shipped to me. So I don't need to go run around to a booth and grab it. But if I see it in a booth, I would love to sit down and play it, or demo it or whatever. The first one, staying in the video game theme, is probably one of my favorite video games of the past several years. It's Dead Cells. I love this video game. I'm a huge sort of Metroidvania fan when it comes to video games in general. I grew up on Genesis and Super Nintendo, so no surprise that I like the genre, that type of genre of game. And Dead Cells is just one of these that you can keep playing forever. It's a ton of fun. The combat is excellent, and I'm really, really intrigued how they're going to adapt this very action-oriented video game to a board game. So this is one that is going to be at Gen Con that I'm looking forward to if I see it, I'm absolutely going to try to demo it and learn to play it, because I was very excited to back it when it came out, because it's just one of my favorite video games. Um, and I really like the indie nature of it, and I'm intrigued about making a roguelite board game, and how do you make a roguelike in a board game form. So Dead Cells is one of these games I've sort of backed that'll be at Gen Con. So don't need to worry about grabbing it, but definitely looking forward to checking it out. Some of these games may be on other people's like most hyped lists, but because I've already backed them, I didn't think it was fair to put them in sort of my countdown of the games I'm most excited to see at Gen Con, because I've already given them money and I'm already sort of predisposed to like these games. So that was the first game that I backed that's at Gen Con. The other one I backed at Gen Con that's going to be at Gen Con, I think, for the first time is the Fox Experiment. This is Elizabeth Hargrave's roll and write. So if you're not familiar with Elizabeth, she did Wingspan. And if you're not familiar with Wingspan, I don't know how you found Rock Manor Games and are watching this video. But Wingspan's a huge board game. It's about bird watching. And the Fox Experiment is about this experiment that happened in, I think it was Russia. I read about it years ago, but it's trying to domesticate foxes and breed foxes so they are more friendly and domesticated towards humans. It was an experiment that was done up in Siberia or Russia or something. And this board game is basically going through the lineage of foxes, breeding foxes together to make offspring via a roll and write, and make domesticated and friendly foxes. And I always joke, when I read this article years ago, I joked with my wife that I wanted a fox instead of a dog next. We got a dog that looked like a fox instead. But I think foxes are a cool animal, and having read about this experiment years ago, this is a board game I backed, and obviously it's Elizabeth Hargrave, who has a pretty great track record with Wingspan, so interested to see it played at Gen Con, because I'll be getting it in the mail at some point whenever it fulfills to Kickstarter backers. So that sort of covers all the games that are going to be at Gen Con that I have played or demoed or backed or given money to before, or have won awards or whatever, or been out for a while. So with that, we are going to go to my countdown of, I guess my 5 most anticipated games of Gen Con. I basically went on the Board Game Geek list page and picked the 5 Gen Con games that I'm most excited for whatever that's worth. So number 1, or number 5, I should say, we'll count down, is Last Light. And I thought Last Light was a good choice for number 5 because it was a game I almost backed on GameFound or something, some crowdfunding site. But it is a 4X game with like dying worlds that plays much faster than most other 4X games. So I'm one of these people that's never played Twilight Imperium, but I want to. It's really hard having 2 young children and to dedicate the amount of time it takes to play that game and dedicate a day to playing games, playing one game specifically. But I've always liked 4X games. They're just always long. So the first thing that appealed to me, which made me sort of almost back this, is the fact that this is a 4X game that plays much faster. I think it's like 90 minutes. It says 45 to 75 minutes. So here we can actually switch over. If you're unfamiliar with the game, we can. I can switch over for a second and go to the Board Game Geek page and open up some of these pictures. So, it's got the glow-in-the-dark dice and everything, but I wanted to show that it's not like army-focused. It's more about this planet manipulation. And you use these 3D planets to expand the game. Uh, so you're trying to preserve your world, I believe. You play asymmetric alien factions, always like that. You're gathering light right before the death of the universe. So you're competing to gather the most light, exploring planets, mining planets. So that one was one I was very close to backing, and it's definitely one I just sort of felt like it would be readily available, and I could hopefully find it at Gen Con and give it a try before I purchased it. So that's my number 5. Definitely interested in that. That's more for me specifically than the next one. This next one is sort of for the family. So my eldest daughter is a huge fan of Prospero Hall as a designer. She really likes like the Wonder Woman co-op game. We just played the Rocketeer, and Prospero Hall is making this new cooperative game called Walt Disney Animated, and you're basically working together to finish films for Walt Disney. So like you can work on Aladdin, you can work on, the older ones, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, and you're trying to finish the film and working together, getting your animators to, color things in, schedule the release of film. It's like you got to do like the background art. I'll switch over it. I think it'll make more sense if I switch over to some of the images. But you work together like a team in a famous movie to create the thing. You need to produce 5 classic Disney films using background art, vibrant paint colors, and sound to bring the stories to life. So what's neat about it, here I'll switch over to 101 Dalmatians is one of them. And the reason this is on my list is because I feel like it'll be a good game for the kids. My oldest daughter will definitely play it with me. So I want to check it out to see if it's any good. And here's switching. Sorry, I was switching over to. So you can see you sort of place these translucent characters. I'll make it bigger. You make the translucent characters of the scene, and when you're trying to make 101 Dalmatians, and you're competing to finish enough films in time, whether it's Alice in Wonderland or what's this, Snow White with the Evil Queen, Aladdin, background music. So you're piecing together a film, which is sort of a neat theme. And the fact that it's Disney themed means my kids will probably be more on it. So it's a game I saw on the Board Game Geek list. Haven't played it, obviously. But I sort of saw it on this list and thought, oh, that might be interesting. That may be something to grab at Gen Con. So that's my number 4. That's my sort of family pick. Last Light was my personal, fits the Mike niche. And then Animated is the household. I think my wife and my kids and everybody would play that with us. We could have a game night out of it if we all got it. If I brought it home. My number 3, again sticking with the Disney theme, I've got good segues between these picks, is Lorcana. And this is the Disney TCG trading card game. So, in the there's a lawsuit about it. It's been heavily covered in the board game industry as a whole, but it's a collectible card game, which are sort of few and far between because it's so hard to be a trading card game and a collectible card game in this industry. You need to be huge, have IP like Disney to be able to have a successful one and have huge organized play events in person to sort of support it. And this is the first TCGs that's been launched at Gen Con in quite a while. The last thing that I can remember that's even close to this is Keyforge, which wasn't a trading card game. It was a deck collecting game. And it ultimately sort of fizzled out and died and got rebought by the owner or something. But Disney Lorcana is the first TCG I've seen launched at Gen Con in a while. I probably won't be on top of it enough to buy any of this, but I'm interested in checking it out. So I'm hoping that even if it sells out day one, at some point I can sit down and get a quick overview of the rules. I've read up on the rules and some of the reviews of the game. It sounds like it's sort of a it's trying to appeal to the more casual TCG market. Like it's trying to be like a better Pokemon game, and it's probably targeting that demographic more than it's a Magic killer. But maybe it's the middle between those two, where Pokemon's super simple and the games sort of focus more on young players, and Magic's like very heavy and has been around forever. And maybe this is trying to be more of the in between. I don't think there's a lot of images about this one. I don't know if there's much has been shown off. No, I found a card. If I could switch over to the laptop screen grab and show you. Here's what the cards look like. There is my biggest disappointment about this game is that it's like sort of falling into the same pitfall of like attack and defense, and you're just like attacking things and destroying stuff. I was hoping with a Disney game, the stats and the creatures could have been something a little different. I don't mind it being head to head and some take that with it, but I was hoping that it wouldn't be like I'm attacking you and breaking you and destroying your card. I was hoping for something a little different, but it looks, I think you go on adventures and you're foiling each other's adventures, but it's still a little too, I would have liked something a little less of that standard battle card game. But I still want to check it out. I'm always interested in card games, and you know, this one's going to be a big one, I think. So I always like checking out the card game mechanics and everything. So Lorcana is my number 3 at Gen Con. My number 2 is Queen by Midnight. And this game sounds like it is sort of right up my personal alley. It's a deck building game. So if you didn't know, I'm a huge deck building fan. And the first game I designed was a deck builder because I kept playing deck builder after deck builder after deck builder, and I couldn't find one that scratched exactly what I was looking for. And so I made one, I sort of designed one myself. And then as I got further and further along in that design process, I felt like, you know, maybe I can put this on Kickstarter or something. You know, Kickstarter was a thing, and that's sort of how Rock Manor Games started. So there's a new deck building game that's getting some hype at Gen Con. I want to check it out. So this is my number 2. It's Queen by Midnight. In it, you are competing. It's a battle royale deck building game of deception and brawn. And there's 6 unique princesses, each with their own unique deck. So I love that because deck building games are so often everyone starts with the same deck and you sort of specialize your deck as you go on. But this is like 200 cards are themed to your specific princess, and then there's 75 bizarre cards that you buy and customize your deck as you go. And the production looks really good, and I'm not sure, I don't really know much more about it. I know it's a deck building game, and I like the theme of it. The theme's different, where you're competing to be the new Midnight Queen, and I like that there's customized decks, that each queen is different, so I can play different characters. I love asymmetrical player powers, so this one has me intrigued and definitely something I want to check out and maybe purchase if it delivers on its promise. You know, if any of these games in my list sort of deliver on the promise, there's something I'd probably grab. So here's what the boards look like. You've got these big player boards, which aren't my favorite thing to have. But the clock board, you roll dice down this clock board. That's obviously the Queen by Midnight ticking clock, and rotate the clock towards like whoever's turn it is, you rotate the clock towards. But there's not even a lot of images available. You got health and clout here on the board. So you're obviously sort of combating, gaining reputation to win, to be dubbed the Midnight Queen since she died. That's sort of the setup of the game. But I love the unique player powers, but that's it. That's all the pictures there are. So not a lot to go on other than that. And then last but not least, my number one pick, and it's probably my number one pick solely because of theme and like the overall production and pictures of the game. But it's Three Ring Circus. Actually, there's a couple factors why I'm picking this as number one. Number one, look at that cover, Three Ring Circus, like the carnival theme, that old school look to it is something that is really something I really like. My wife and I actually, our motif of our wedding was like carnival themed. So all the font and decorations and stuff were sort of carnival themed. Our invitations were carnival tickets. So this is something I think my wife would play with me. And I actually just played a game from DeVere called Bamboo, and it surprised me a little bit. It was a little, at first my brain felt like it was going to explode because it was like it felt like a big rules dump and a heavy sort of Euro type game, which sometimes aren't my favorite. But I liked the mechanisms in the game, and there were some parts I really liked and found interesting, even if the theme didn't strike me particularly well in Bamboo. This one the theme strikes a lot closer to home. I think it looks really cool. And when I looked at, I looked at the Board Game Geek list of interesting games, and then I started sort of clicking through and learning about the games. And I'll switch over here. Hold on. Navigating my laptop here on stream as opposed to last time. As opposed to usually when I'm just sort of talking and managing something in real life, playing a game or something. So when I started looking at the pictures of this game, the map, just all the graphic design and art decisions of this game. So I'll just take a moment to click through so you can see everything. Looked really cool. But basically you are a traveling circus. You're an independent circus. P.T. Barnum is the most famous circus in the world. So it takes place in like the early 1900s, I believe, or late 1800s. And you're traveling from town to town, setting up your tent and doing Euro game stuff and capturing points. So there's some economic things going on as well. But you're opening up your Three Ring Circus. That may be Barnum and Bailey traveling around that competes with. But you've got these nice wood pieces, your own personal player board. I don't know if I clicked past it, but you have axe. I like this too, that you're customizing your circus by grabbing cards. And you're like, oh, I want a fire breather in my center ring, and the elephants are in the side ring, or in the left ring or right ring. I really like the idea that you're building up your custom circus. And unlike, one of the things I really need to see in Euros is some sort of interaction with other players. And the fact that you're moving around the board, competing, taking different routes, and potentially, I think there's some area majority that you're competing over, sounds like it could be a winner. And I know this is one of the games that people have been talking about. I'm sure my list isn't unique. Like some of these games I saw on other people's most anticipated lists. And I sort of just wanted to give my own spin on it without being too long. I mean, I only had sort of 5 games here, plus some games I backed and games I'm looking to purchase that are older at Gen Con. But that covers it. And I think with the busy week I've had and the busy week I'm going to have next week, unless there are any pressing questions or anything on the stream, or if there's anything anybody wants to chat about, I didn't see anything. Oh, you know what? I was not in the right. I was only on the Twitch chat room, but I still don't see anything as I'm switching over here. So I didn't see anything in chat. So, I think with that, I'm going to say goodbye and enjoy my last weekend before the insanity of Gen Con here. But thanks for watching. Thanks for checking these videos out. If you're watching this video on demand, and if you've enjoyed watching our in-development streams over the summer, please let us know how we can get better, improve. I'm wondering if it's better to live stream or record things ahead of time. we sort of always did them on Friday because it worked with our schedule. But in the fall, we're going to have a lot more flexibility when we could do streams like this. And I definitely would be interested to hear like what times of day or what days of the week people are around to watch streams more. I'm wondering if like Tuesday or Wednesday is sort of a better thing to do in general, just because it's not a Friday. People are always, especially in the summer, people are like going places, taking long weekends on Fridays. Although we're pretty happy with the people who have stopped by and watched it so far, and especially our views afterwards. But if you have any feedback, please leave a comment on the video on YouTube or wherever you're watching it, and let us know how we can make these streams better, if we should bring them back, etc. in the fall. It does take, an hour or so of our time to do them. Happy to do them, but want to always try to do what's best for the fans out there and the board gamers out there. And if these aren't super interesting and you'd rather see us do playthroughs or demos or teaching videos of our games, we're happy to do that too. So, definitely let us know what you think in the comments whenever you're watching this, and we'll start piecing together and putting together things for the fall. Maybe bring it back once a month or something. But thanks for watching. If any of you are going to be at Gen Con, please stop by booth 1819 and say hi to Todd or I. Todd or me when you're there. And got a couple comments. You're the best, Mike. Thank you. I appreciate it. And then Jen says her streams are lower this summer than last summer as well. So, yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, I get people are working and going places on Friday. They can't catch a stream, but we always put our streams on demand later. And it's just sort of a convenient thing for us because Fridays are always less. We always get less email. We always get less fires to put out. From a business standpoint, we sort of caught up on the week, and going into the weekend, there's always sort of time to stream on a webcam. But what I'm thinking is it may be better to stream a different day of the week and then save Friday to record videos, to like pre-record videos where we talk about other games or do demos or playthroughs or tutorials on our games. We could sort of set up Friday as a recording day and then release it future in the week. So that's what I'm thinking about doing. But if anybody out there has any thoughts or what they want to see or do, let us know, please, in the comments. And thanks so much for watching over the summer. And with that, I will say goodbye. I hope to see some of you at Gen Con. Again, we'll be in the Tabletop Tycoon booth, which is number 1819. And I know for a fact that we will have Wasted Wilds, Seas of Havoc, Set a Watch there. I'm hoping that Lawyer Up, Maximum Apocalypse 2nd Edition, and Maximum Apocalypse Gothic Horrors arrived in time and got to the warehouse, to the truck, to be driven to Gen Con. But I'm skeptical. I think we're going to just miss it. I think it's going to get there like while we're at Gen Con. But we have a sort of a Gen Can't sale going online at rockmanorgames.com now for the next several weeks. So a bunch of our games are on sale. A bunch of our new editions that aren't making it to Gen Con or will be at Gen Con are on sale and available for pre-order and will ship out in August. So be sure to check out rockmanorgames.com and our shop there for some great board game deals. If you're not going to Gen Con, if you are going to Gen Con and those games sound interesting to you, say hi, demo them, play them, purchase them, and enjoy. And with that, I will sign off and say goodbye. And looking forward to seeing some of you next week. And looking forward to seeing even more of you on our revamped stream schedule and our YouTube videos come the fall. So thanks for watching, and hope everyone has a great weekend and gets to play something fun.